if you didn't pick anything at all, I saw honesty. Yesterday, I was on set. I'm shooting a series, yes. And one of the actresses on the set showed me something on her phone. So she's trying to buy something online. She contacted the lady on Instagram and left a comment. Then somebody on Instagram also sent her a message telling her not to buy from the page because it's a fraud page. Now, it could be that it was just a mistake the person made, or it was just a one-time lie that the person told. And here she has lost some business. It's something expensive, and so I'm sure that she would have made a lot from whatever my friend wanted to buy. But yeah, she's lost it. So again, your watchword when it comes to business and even in life as a policy, constantly be honest. No matter how difficult it is to tell the truth, trust me, it pays off very well. Now, if you have been admiring my costume today or my entire setup, then it is a young man who I am starting to admire so much. Yesterday, I was listening to him talk. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you and we are going to go places. His name is Amechi, a very young guy. One of these days, I'll invite him here so we talk. We have a personality profile. His story, I am pretty sure, will inspire you as well. So yes, Amechi styled me today. Like I indicated, we are zooming into our newspapers. But before that, there is a very
young man.
Why won't you let me do my own introduction, please?
Now we try. You know what? From Monday, Kwame will be taking over the conversation. I want to take a short leave, and I was asking myself, "Abedo, say." Oh, mama, sorry, I'm matching on that remote. And me press, so now me hear more. But it's one of those things. Good morning. This is TV XYZ, and the program always comes your way from Mondays, and then we close on Fridays. Fridays will be the time for you to make your call. There's an interesting conversation I will share later on this program. You know, a few days ago, there was a video that went viral about Abu Jinapo. He went to his constituency, and he gave some bags of rice to the residents, to Max Salah. They were so angry that they felt it was an insult, a slap on their face. And so all these bags of rice were loaded onto the pickup. I'll share that video. And the reason why I'm going back to that video is that just 2 days ago, there was another incident in Elmina, which is very serious. You know, it's a typical fishing community. It has one of the biggest landing beaches in Ghana. And because of the close season, they are not supposed to work. You know, you brought some fishermen to this studio. And one of the issues they were raising, one of the things they were talking about was about the need for government to make some arrangement to cushion them within the 2-month period. And so how Akumsun went there with bags of rice. I'll stop here. What
I'm interested in is if they brought it back or they took them. Anyways, I'm starting with the Daily Graphic this morning. I'll show it to you first. So here it is. It says NPP NDC for by-election as Cape Coast Court announce Asin North election. Also, media budget today. Economists wants public sector inefficiencies tackled. We all do, actually. President Akufo-Addo also commences action on petition to remove the Chief Justice. I think I'll read a bit of that story. It's actually on page 16. But what do you think about that, though? I am quite happy about that. I think ASEPA...
You know, we are not lawyers. We all know the $5 million bribery allegation against the Chief Justice. And so the NDC held a press conference that he must recuse himself. And many others said it is not necessary because there's no substance in the allegation until a prima facie case has been established against him. So ASEPA has been writing to institutions. He wrote to Shraj and then also petitioned the presidency. And so Nana Asante Bediatiu has responded in a form of a letter that they have begun processes to look into the request he has made. And some have interpreted it to be the process government has started, i.e. the president, to remove the Chief Justice. I've listened to lawyers who are saying that, look, processes would mean that, okay, the due diligence will be done. And many of the lawyers I've listened to are saying that it is not as easy as many people think, that you go and ask the Chief Justice that because somebody has made an allegation against you, go and sit home. No. Until a prima facie case, it is established that there is enough room to believe that allegation, that is when the Chief Justice may be told to step aside. So they quoted aspects of the Constitution. But I'm sure that's what has been published.
Yeah, that's what has been published, actually. And just as Eric has indicated, now the President of the Republic has, in accordance with the Article 146 of the Constitution, commenced the appropriate processes subsequent to being petitioned for the removal of the Chief Justice. The letter from the Executive Secretary said.
And I see the chronicle on your table.
Yes, but before that, immigration also to run COVID-19 tests for work permit applicants, which is a good thing because COVID is still on the rise. It's been reported the Delta variant is still there, it's live and colored. So please do not forget to put on your nose mask when you're going out, and also ensure that you are always social distancing. Just as Eric and I are sitting now, it's more than 2 meters, isn't it? Also, state to return vested lands to owners. I'm sure that the chiefs will be excited.
It is not as easy as the statement is. If you speak to the La youth, they will tell you that, look, they are only making empty promises. Because anytime you talk to...
Prince Derek is happy.
Derek has been sending me updates on what is happening. There was a plan that the Lands Ministry, the Defense Ministry, the La Chiefs will meet and find a way to resolve the impasse. You remember the demonstration where journalists and some of the opinion leaders were meeting?
Yes.
And he tells me that it looks as if that meeting is hanging. That is the impression I get.
Right. Well, we hope that this is not just mere statements coming out. To the Chronicle, it's now NPP 137 and NDC 136. Let me straighten it for you right there. And Haruna wept. They said the shortest verse in the Bible is, and Jesus wept.
Yes, it's a controversial issue. I've seen a citizen of Asen North who has filed a petition at the Supreme Court asking for an interpretation of dual citizenship and whether you owe allegiance to Canada or Ghana, or if perhaps you have dual citizenship as a British or US citizen. That is that interpretation of the law will give some meaning to what has happened.
Right.
The minority is also saying that they are going to apply for stay of execution. That is the enforcement of the court directives. Now, the MPP is hoping to win that seat. I've seen a publication in which Pollstar Benefson is suggesting that MPP can win that seat.
Yeah,
and this is also saying that, look, everything tells that it is our seat. The last election, if you look at the figures, NDC won by a margin of 2,000 plus. But the end of it all is that if there will be a by-election, the people of Asen North will take their fair share of the national cake.
Definitely.
You understand why?
Yeah.
You know what happened to Ayawaso West Wardon? All of a sudden, all streets were being asphalted. And so, but it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, that the people of Seoul, you know, have no representation in Parliament. And we don't see the speed at which we are driving towards working that, on that. And then we are going for another by-election, which is going to be very expensive to the state. And the controversy is you were a dual citizen, you applied before you went into the election, or at the time you were filing, you had started the process and it had not been completed. So the certificate had not been issued. And because of that, I hear that the gentleman submitted that certificate to the EC. I don't know why at the time he submitted to the EC didn't disqualify him that at the time you were applying. So we've gone past that stage. The man has entered Parliament. A speaker has been elected. Now people are saying even Bagben can go. And I see Chronicle saying 136, 137.
137, yeah.
And so if they go for the election tomorrow and the NDC wins, would it make sense to us, or we are just testing the law? Well, let's leave it at that, Abna. Do it quickly. Let me go to Elmina.
Yes. A murdered cop's wife is lauding the police for excellent welfare. Her husband was killed in a robbery shootout when they were trying to save some young boys, and I think they shot him in the chest and the head. But she's saying the police service personnel have been very forthcoming. They have been giving her money and also physical support as well. So she thanks them.
I want us to go to Elmina before we come to Asen North MP disqualified on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. I want to speak Fanti to my people. you know, I come from Elmina and
I know, too known.
Yeah. Now, most in there, what's a fisheries minister? He obibeka dem common kete. Oko Edna. Na moye nye de ozemu egu tracks no de kama Edna apofono. Ye nyina nyim de wose ma hiana yekopo no yanko insudo osande yepede within the next 2 months ofi July 1st kesi August 31st yepede nam na owo nsunum no onyin kakra ama yekopo a yenyanam na ansa na obesi no dodo na rakede nkrofi mo ya anye de wokopo na wonyankamfo na idwe ana nam nkakrama na ono na wodidi wo ho ono na hwana wotonam wochew ana hwana wosiesie nam wode ye ice na ade no wonso wonya ebia take fan na sempo a wode ye adwuma a wo hwe video yi ibon de how akomsi no coordina na madinafo ye no ibon na bete wo video no mu. So video needs one cordon one ye. Now it may look funny, but it's a serious issue because say men who posted I was say 1 hour war Ketu South. They are going to embark on a demonstration for the opening of the border. Why the manner you woman no one what the too much one and so we turn a one gen Yana ye the two no yadama one. John Mensa our line. John, good morning. John Mensa, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, John, Pocho, minim de word na bibia bokode.
Good morning, sir. Pocho pome.
Yeah, mo ye na dene.
Ya me na adumo, leke fa.
Yo, John Mesrawara, wo TV no go na kakra volume no was sir. Ama manyo within command ye nya feedback with you.
Wa ko from.
Yo, na John Pocho ye fra wa boko, me raba no nya obakasa. Na wabanedan na adnafo ehwa wafofo abrosan menyin bebi on or cast nature ehemfa nyi
baby a wezi back to you baby onya cast na yin mo baby wezi back to you
na John
baby a festival where no I wanna a performance na you share
okay
na mo be ne there
okay
honorable how commission or chair and credo peru be share a faludomen and see a faludomen now so I will put you a flower champion fran I will to my show a friend and I will jump now say what for the girl to me for them a felling mapa you could share or you how commission war or bacanan one and say one or other one yarishan.
Oh, okay. Now, adding to na in Zamana or the bay no wasn't the egu canum.
Martin in Yamana Ubukas Nimino. No, Yaza Yajo in Zamana or the bay. At the man, Yaja on ye was sent there in Zamana or the bay on Yanim blood on the bay. And the intimacy and Chua walk no one can tell from my thing and catch up window babies, but what better job a cow? I will come so and I did a day. If you had now for no, you are getting your papa. It's all cafe, Muna or Jabba dying. What fed the better that dying at Nafu? At the nation and no come and son one abluda. On your dear, I have a trade there, which may get now for an argument days are good. And now for two away, you know, on an maybe the opinion, Victor or a canoe. And no one fact, you know, you man or your policeman, your face dangle. But I know you number. The woman is there as no croon or your full crew, and no crony you crew are. A yelika, a Ijama, a Falmuno, this in China, this in China, radio today dinner at dinner. And when they say, a baba, now what you're putting, na ya chukoma yoku yetima mu akende gye mu ogbeepun na baka so amutu jimi ejegugu da yen ja bada da yen na ntum fa bada da yen na ye chere na so you be on high and it's for ma on high with na met na yen
na John den na mo hwehwe every nche den na nka obae no de brem na say obae obeka ya anka moni beje
ma na ya hwehwe ne de epono tumi no ana efal dominant no epono tumi no ana efal dominant no one last 4 years and the last 3 years or 4 years na wotumi me me nso o ho yan so an ho yan later na ja be say June nisu actually May end in May 15 to give a 20 na and me yina na kaka ka bi tide oye eban na ankwamuna anwa fa ni Simon na ya fa na ankwamuna we mu boss be interpret achiro ankwamuna na eban na wiwu na azim o sa te de oroba dadi ma nfunda na nkenya abeda afidi onya me na piapu ni be ye ne mu na ha hukum su ukidna water region oje padrock so lu tuma ko left you so lu tuma ko right you kuma ko photo epunim ye for no work away enya tuma yi e for fo ye pia asomde ye pia bese ye biala o tenda man asomde na ina ye gitinem nti se asomde na ina gitim na akwa kotuma ya tlewa de membri iwi yin ba na gi amu aka ka fa mu tujimi je gugu de afalfo ne yanja ye nye bia yala ebutima adada yan ayan gata na ye faludom ayan gata ne yunda mo ko don ko ye de ban intima fe de ban fa badada yan
okay
ye funi ye jinam ya tere de ye yin ne mana ya mi adu na sike be nsema ebuti e bia hwe ye na yanam ma because biala wa nya mo bia show nya mo bia edom wo mo e be 25 dem 25 no wo nya manemen biala wa ye owamba wo fa asefo anya na fordom si isu ban ku bin de obiala kakakite biala o hwe ne chifo even no wo fa asefo na nunu ani no o hwe won na egusi 17 na lan dem na la o kan wan nti se baba na mo oye em de one cup for tadi e de gugu kotokum na egutwetwa na ono wo shogu kale ni men anya na yeti mpe ye tan si wo ne kan na na fa na no fonko bi ko no fonko anya na na fudi hia no mo yo bi su kire bi ye maka ma ja kiro
yo John yeah that say
John na adna apofo hen na adze no obandam no wakadan
nche enwede entime fa ne mpoko kashe kukom na ndada na adwuno se gine mpoko kashe kukom na anya ne kase de dem na onya anya seba ye bubu ebu ata because entime so ne mpoko de ne mpoko no anya na ne no nkon kache de ma adwuno ye ntintu
okay the embre night here John
me fe yin so de ploko o fe yin so de ploko o me no bi je what today I want to get a hook nkoban no.
No, yes, yeah, that's a John.
Yo, John, yeah, that's it. Now,
Eric, you know, there's one thing he said that I picked. The last time I interviewed the fishermen, he said, they said, almost started who and near be and Nambia na and one quarry started by. Into that tells them said there will be bountiful harvest, and he mentioned the same thing. So now my question is, was it the right decision?
The decision, the scientist will tell you is right.
Right.
But you don't implement. It's like you go to the streets of Osu and start breaking people's shops without understanding that these are people who have lived by the petty trading for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And so when you decide all of a sudden to go and deprive them of their daily source of livelihood, that is when you put in interventions, either through LEAP or through, let's say, the ministry or department that is involved. You do proper mapping, do proper listing of these people, and give them stipends and find alternative livelihood source of raising income for them. But it looks like people are privileged. The state is paying them. They don't care about the plight of the people. I don't know whether it is wickedness or out of foresight. And then they go and do these things. You watch this video. They wrap it up. They see what Damango. And also Abu Jinapo, and also Salasa, and all the Diane, and the command no. If Ghanaians begin to wake up now,
we have started
people
waking
would
up.
think, say, Ghana for the, I'm using this word as I advise Jimmy. So, look at the Damango video. I'm going to wrap up and let's go. This Damango. This Damango. No, so
they say, it won't work. It won't, because I've seen this happen before. Those times, close to elections, normally they are more one bag at Bronco for 50 cities, 10 cities. This time around, it won't work. That's all we want to tell you. Anyways, if you have any comments also that you want to add to what we have been saying this morning, or even any other day, yes, sure, follow us on our social media handles. It's TVXYZ Ghana, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Twitter. And when you send your comment, don't forget to hashtag XYZ Morning Updates. My name is Nana Abnasawa. Wisdom Hedejome is on standby with the news.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
It be old cargo. Can I join you guys?
Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural eggs, mineral water.
You still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many Accra.
Sure.
Emission, check.
Alignment, check.
Brakes, check.
Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much. Auto checks, check.
AutoChecks, your safety, our priority.
This government of using the court to balance power after ruling on Asin North MP case, but MPP rubbishes the claim. Meanwhile, one of its members has filed an application for criminal prosecution of Joe Jachi Kwesing for perjury. Details and reaction coming up. Also in this bulletin, university teachers declare strike beginning next Monday. Finance Minister present the mid-year budget review to Parliament a little later this morning, and later in this bulletin we'll tell you why the court has ruled in favor of Dr. Stephen Opuni, asking Justice Clemens Honyanuga to recuse himself on the grounds of bias. My name is Wisdom Hedejome. We have details for you. Please stay. And let's begin with a story from politics, because the minority in Parliament is accusing government of using the court to balance power. Leader Haruna Idris, who addressed the news conference shortly after the ruling on the Asin North dual citizenship case, described it as travesty of justice. In his attack comes in the wake of counterclaims by the NPP that the NDC MP knew very well that they had on the eve of 7th of January when they smuggled him, that's the embattled MP, to Parliament to help elect Alban Bagbin as Speaker.
The NDC has served notice it may no longer cooperate with government if it decides to manipulate processes on technical grounds to strip them of its duly elected members of parliament, their positions. Harun Idrisi suspects government is using the courts to balance power. Minority leader told a news conference shortly after the Cape Coast High Court ruling that they will appeal the case and explore all other means constitutionally to keep that seat.
Processes and legal forum and opportunities available within the Constitution. We will contest the ruling. The judge erred both in law and in fact. It's a travesty of justice. But what is worrying, we don't want to believe that the courts of Ghana have been captured and that the courts of Ghana have become forums being used surreptitiously to tilt the balance of power. We are equal, 137, 137. What is happening is the courts now being used to tilt the balance of power and to weaken time-tested historical notion of checks and balances. Justice must not only be done, but must manifestly and undoubtedly be seen to be done.
According to him, the absence of the High Court registrar and other officers of the court when the MP's lawyers wanted to file appropriate legal motion is enough to conclude the High Court ruling is simply travesty of justice.
We are told that even when the Supreme Court of Ghana directed the Honorable Kwesi and his legal team to go and file appropriate legal motions for the matter to be referred to the Supreme Court, he was denied that. That is repugnant and an affront to his right to a fair trial guaranteed under Article 19 of the 1992 Constitution. Danger begets our democracy with the developments happening. But as I've assured you, we remain unshaken, we remain very resolved, and cooperation will suffer.
Majority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre, who reacted immediately, said the ruling vindicates the MPP. He explained that on the eve of January 7, when the NDC smuggled the Asen North MP to Parliament to secure votes for Alban Bagbin as Speaker of the House, they knew clearly that the action was wrong.
A court of proper jurisdiction has come to make a ruling. Now, I respect the minority leader, but for him to say that rubbing in government influence and the likes is totally flawed and should be rejected ab initio.
Now, public reaction is missed. NDC and MPP activists took to social media to explain their own interpretation of the judge's decision. We shall hear that. But first, the scene at the Cape Coast High Court, how lawyers for both parties reacted immediately after the ruling.
The ruling of the High Court, presided over by Justice Kwesi Boakye, the NDC MP for Asen North, Joe Jechi Kwesi, breached Article 94(2)A of the 1992 Constitution with regard to dual citizenship because at the time of filing to contest the parliamentary elections, official documents on the renunciation of his Canadian citizenship had not been secured. It was established in court that the disqualified MP had on December 17, 2019, applied to renounce his Canadian citizenship. The Electoral Commission opened nominations between October 5th and 9th for the parliamentary elections. This was before November 26, 2020, when the Canadian officials issued a renunciation certificate to the disqualified MP. The court in its ruling has declared the seat vacant. Security was tight around the court premises and contrary to expectations, the atmosphere was very calm. Member of the NDC's legal team, Alex Segbefia, spoke just after proceedings.
Part of the applications we were going to do today was for this matter to be halted, for the Supreme Court to make an adjudication similar to what they did in Zaneto on 94.1 to be done with 94.2 so that we know exactly what the outcome would be. with regard to this type of a scenario. To circumvent that and not let the Supreme Court have a say on this matter, we think is unfortunate. So it's not a question of delay or the election petition. It's a question of what is right. The bottom line is, what did the people of Asin North want? They wanted our candidate to be their representative.
Henry Nanapwache, who is also a member of NPP's legal team, reacted, describing the NDC's response as expected.
We in the MPP, we believe in the rule of law. We have heard from our friends in the NDC that we are using some technicalities to make sure that the sovereign will of the people of Asin North will be thwarted. This is false and malicious attempt by the NDC to render our rule of law ineffective, but it is not going to work.
Now there is uncertainty about how soon the EC may call for a rerun of the constituency election and if the disqualified NDC MP George Chikwesin can contest, especially because he now has his certificate. NDC won the seat with 17,498 votes in the 2020 elections. He beat NPP's candidate Abena Drowa Mensah, who secured 14,793 with 2,705 votes. Meanwhile, the NPP Central Regional Secretary has quickly filed an application for criminal prosecution after the court ruling.
Well, let's still stay at Asin North and the matters arising from the court ruling. And a private citizen, Mark Inti, has filed an application at the Supreme Court seeking interpretation and determination of what constitutes owning allegiance to another country. Very small in this report I found. If the NDC does not appeal the decision and due processes continue, the party's seat in Parliament will drop to 136 as against MPP's 137 until a by-election is held to determine who wins the seat. Social media is awash with divergent views. Those sympathetic to the NPP are demanding further action, including criminal prosecution of George Chikwesin for perjury. For them, it's simply the law of karma. They are referring the NDC to a related case they brought against the late Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Adamu Dramani Sankande, who was convicted by an Accra High Court on July 27, 2012. He was found guilty of perjury and forgery. He was therefore jailed 2 years concurrently on all counts. Others simply described the development as worrying. NDC activists say whether an appeal or there is a rerun, they will retain the seat. They are banking their hope on the 2,705 margin between the now disqualified NDC MP and MPP candidate, Abena Drowa Mensah. Meanwhile, another petition has been filed at the Supreme Court seeking an interpretation of portions of the Constitution with reference to the disqualification of an MP for his or her allegiance to another country aside from Ghana. A resident of Asin North, Mark Inti, who filed the case on Tuesday, insists it is only the apex court that has power to determine what constitutes owning allegiance to another country. The plaintiff, Mr. Inti, is also seeking interpretation on a declaration that, quote, a person who owned allegiance to a country other than Ghana but has taken positive steps under the law of that country to renounce the allegiance or citizenry of that other country does not fall within the scope and meaning of a person who owns allegiance to another country other than Ghana, as expressed in Article 94(2)(a), and as such is not disqualified from being a member of Parliament. Now let's turn attention to the Labour Front, and the University Teachers Association have declared a strike beginning next Monday, August 2, in protest against the worsening conditions of service. UTAG President Professor Charles Mafu, who addressed the news conference, said at least each lecturer must receive in Ghana cedi equivalent $2,084 monthly. According to UTAG, the strike will begin on Monday, August 2, 2021. This is coming in at a time Senior Staff Association of Universities of Ghana and Federation of University Staff Association of Ghana have issued a similar threat with only 48 hours remaining. UTAG says the continuous disregard for the rules of engagement by government is unacceptable. According to the association, government has displayed bad faith because key actors to be at negotiation table to discuss their conditions of service have always been absent. UTAG President Professor Charles Mafu told journalists yesterday the drop in the payment of the single-pipe salary structure since 2012 is unacceptable. He is thus demanding the restoration immediately.
UTAG demands that government should just, and this is very important to us, UTAG demands that government should just restore the 2012 values for the lecturer without recourse to any adjustment. To make it clear, we are not asking for any increment in our salaries. We are asking for restoration.
Professor Mafu said UTAG will have no other option than to withdraw its services beginning Monday, August 2, if government remains adamant.
We also like to state here that until our demands are considered and met in total, UTAG would have no other option. UTAG will have no other option than to embark on industrial action by withdrawing teaching, which includes the conduct of examinations and the making of examination scripts, marking of examination scripts, and other related matters, starting from Monday, 2nd August 2021 until further notice.
And in a few hours' time, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will be presenting the mid-year budget review to Parliament. Expectations are high as GUTA and the Association of Ghana Industries are all making their demands. Now, ahead of the presentation, a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Lord Mensah, simply wants a conservative budget. Listen.
To fit the country in such a way that whatever we generate will be close to whatever we want to spend, so that we can save ourselves from borrowing at a higher cost. And at the same time, if we continue to borrow from the local environment, tendency of crumbling local businesses as a result of the government competing with the private sector on the funds available from the various banks. And so, if you ask me, generally I would say that we need a conserved budget.
Now let's turn attention to some other story related to security, and by the timely intervention of the police, a man in his late 20s would have been lynched for stealing air conditions. Now, Emmanuel Amwakon, who is in police custody, was rushed to the Utu Breku Health Center for treatment.
Alleged thief, 26-year Emmanuel Amwakon, was reportedly caught stealing air conditioners on Wednesday dawn at Ewutu Breku in the Ewutu Senya West district of the Central Region. He was tied to a tree by the angry mob, but for the timely intervention of the Ewutu Breku police, he would have been lynched. The suspect, who was rushed to Ewutu Breku Health Center for treatment upon rescue by the police, is said to be on the wanted list of residents who have become daily victims of his stealing spree. The angry mob tells Central Regional correspondent Alex Donko the suspect is also wanted for stealing car batteries, goats, fowls, and other clothes meant for 3 different ladies' engagement and wedding ceremonies. Meanwhile, the Ewutu Breku District Police, which will not go public, however, says it has commenced investigation into the incident.
Still on those matters related to security and all of that, an MP for Ejura has been reacting to some of the recommendations by the committee that investigated the Ejura shooting and killings. Now, Mohammed Bawa Brahima spoke to TVX Waza News after he visited the constituency yesterday.
This recommendation should have been that the regional minister should have been sanctioned, because if you listen to him at the committee, and if you listen to other executive members, it means that he unilaterally asked or deployed the soldiers to go to Ejura. That unfortunate incident happened. The military in Kumasi, those who appeared before the committee were not those who went to the ground. But however, I'm a bit consoled that the committee has recommended that the officer at the ground that day should be sanctioned or should be punished. Because when I went to Ejura, like I said earlier on, I found out that all the riot control equipment that the police needed to control the crowd were in Ejura. But none of them was used on these protesters. Rather, we saw soldiers who just immediately after disembarking from the pickup, these protesters were running away. We just saw soldiers shooting into protesters who were even running away from the soldiers. I would have wished that they would go a step further to identify, because the commander on the ground will identify the soldier who squat and aimed into the crowd. What was he aiming for? The recommendation of the committee just comes to confirm what informed his withdrawal from the race for being reappointed as a municipal chief executive. The committee has done well. They have made recommendations, but as to whether President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will implement them, that one we leave it to him, because he is known. Also, what happened in West Wuogon. The recommendations that the commission gave, if he had implemented those recommendations to the fullest, we wouldn't have seen Ejura.
Well, before we take leave of you, the trial of former Cocoa Board CEO Dr. Stephen Opuni and businessman Xyz Agongo, I should say, for allegedly causing 217 million cedis financial loss to the state in connection with the purchase of fertilizer by the institution has been ongoing since 2017. Now, yesterday, the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, ruled in favor of Dr. Opuni, asking the presiding judge, Justice Clemens Jackson Honyanuga, to recuse himself on grounds of bias. Now, lead counsel for Dr. Steve Opuni, Samuel Kujo, raised objections to the judge's continuous sitting on the case after a viral video exposed him shouting praises at President Nana Akufo-Addo. Now, Dr. Opuni's lawyers argue that the case against Cocoa Board boss and Xyz Agongo has been, since supposedly a criminal case, has been transformed into a political one. But reacting to the publication, Dr. Opuni's counsel said Justice Honyanuga, in his ruling on March 16, 2020, dismissed the motion for his recusal, describing the motion as incompetent and misconceived. And that'll be it for this morning's edition of News in Brief. As always, do log on to my xyzonline.com. My name is Wisdom Hedejome. Good morning.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
If I cry na menyisika, etia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia, edia tre medwuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre mi yebusia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodo bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, ekokro bosia, susu account. Eni da so wo ho savings account. Me bada chain savings account. ɛne deɛ keka ho. Sohum Rural Bank was 034229186. Na wɔn nso wetumi aka sɛ
Sohum Rural Bank ama ene mayeka una.
Sohum Rural Bank entime pa minie.
Sohum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
May say we are in an era where we or everybody is fighting for rights. Now, matete news in the grapevine, mim de minyan huye ba matete ena mehu pictures. Say awutu senya residents need be ewo in Kramine instead in most of our houses, even in my estates. Me kana me complain say in Kramine so the walls ni enti ano. Omode camera that could say obi shri baku shri esomia because we trema no ye well. But that is not even the import of this conversation. E wutu senya honom. Ya tete say enkrama mo nkrama no youth na ewo area mo ho no eba no ma be ku krama no. Na de wo ho ne say yesi gods ni baako a ewo kro ne so no ompe krama no. Ompe say residents na edi nkramai ebeba area nimu ho. Residents no so the asema omo kan say omo kwakotena ho no yanka samra no amfa nkyere wom say ubetena ha untimi mfa kramai emma ho enti omo nkramai na yeku omo no eye omo ya omo nti ase but say ohwe nsem nimu kra wildlife eti asem we menye sure say omo ani beje ho because animals have rights just as yen so ye what rights no me can same way anope na obi ka say na say ori chichinga say ori gizzard ori akoko omunso so but some animals are domestic animals ye what pets those have their rights. On say Bible crampo no eka say yi enam we no meshira so amamo enu mutimiri we munso de munya omo ana meboa enti adan na obi ato ne kraman e de ato ne fie na wo so wo asori efiri wo fie na wakofa kraman no eku kraman no e asema e ha adwen a etete me anopa ya me hu ye because me kan say I am me keka say yi chichinga no me be jaire kakra because I am that could be not me twa sinina me hu say odwan baako edimika a o tu moja me rehoye because na kofo di na che ekita akuma ne ade che se omo pe odwan na kunu satan na sala breso omo ba be kunu but anope me ne residents ne ba ko be kasa na wa kyen ade potin ya ekoso ena so ampa se da ye te se yan kan chom so omo mfa kraman embra kro ne so ampa na ye frɛ no say we dey me name ama say wa tete. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Oh, bisanya wo kasa tie mate say ye ku kraman enti ore aho. Hello, say wa o menka. Na say wa eden na ekoso wo ewutu senya sese a.
Me that me for the life witness and me for me kraman e fie ba ko bi the only e fie ora no eno no na me fia fie eno na ye media wadi me no na and it say omo landlord association bi e wo two akram pa ho no e me kuno no mo ni we come down for follow me na association bi da me makoye obai obi enti omo from the people omo ya announcement no mo ye no say omo ma landlord from omo go ni na 1 week omo ni kramani ni na free kono enti landlord association for the assembly no omo see me kono ni na for so area omo ebe ko because every for a high e wo wono they be a ubeti na ye see area we they be a ubeti na ye see area we e say san ko ko ni be be no kramani na ebe boa omo Enti ena mo so na nso mo koto asase so ya ha obi an kan chiro mo say enye nkraman wa nso mo wie ye na an kati beti na ha no an go put start di nkraman ni ba ye na afi die o mo start ye enti ye sa no me kunu no mutu ana mo ko corona don't hini ho according to them ye ka Bible a don't hini na Bible selling some nso mo ko don't hini ni ho no I don't think any casual so. Among that, and the man on in penny for a betinasi, no more can answer because a name radio, any diaba. Come on, soon and any professional body that it will see. Intino, among just and the mom, na, or get it back to I landlord association for. And see, you couldn't buy no beer among your own can't say, I don't think it's among just and the man on that. Or move back on meeting one. And see, see, I don't. Any na wo me for dem ye wo ye fie any say you know say man for be associate say kunyani nyama tupetu kitankranti ani asedi ana omo akon nti ye sa no na ye de ye ni na munti ye di omo chi sa be do me ko bi ani ye di omo nti omo bu e fie di mu a e bi wo omo lo ki gate no ma bo rem obi fie sa no ma bo rem omo kamera na omo bo ni to no ma ka mo ti Omuko mami tie mami ni kama na say we na tie so te dan kama ni gubare omo eni imma kama omo awu so omo du ye omo tan kama mani mu ni na ku mami ni papa ni na enti eye cha omo na ma du madam ba ko bi ifie madam ifie no we twa wall siafie no e na we 3 days enti omo ko du ho no no say yen di omo enti tumi hu se Madam no asena ni bakitu adikwa ni na mabonti wonti de makola ni hu omu na no di emeka ewrade enti ye hu ya ni so mu di etu no akreti yenim omu mu di na bonten on ko di tu kreti yenim no mu ku abwa ni wo fie ni no enti na ke so mu tutu to madam with fie enti ehona ni hu se ye se de mai ke sa kola ni ko inside enti no madam ni kunu no ekie ene yehu se oyire no nso di etire ene omu nyina ba ho ene omu bi sa kokon se na dia mu ye afie se so mi jina bon se tutu ba obi fi ye ti afie o we me ma ni peja ni ta ni kunu no peja ni ta se onu anga sa ni omu kunu so onu no mhwehwe na omu kunu because obi pie die Gana mrako ma ho so mi jina bon se tutu ba ni ba ni fi se di o kunu ni fa o fie wa nka asem ye le ka ni sen If omo kasa na tell mranti fonte omo teshi kra ni nsu bae omo so kasa ya so nko so omo ya pe omo amamre if ekosi sane na say association for nso efre police for so omo free police for na police for ma patrol team bae na nko so ya sane na say omo da ho na omo koye the patrol team ni bae na omo be fa evidence na so omo fa nyina be hu no kama for na thing e wo fie ho omo bi call police station. If police station dey see ye jom die. Media say say me gina wa me hwe dey see ye jom die.
Na so omo say ede nti na omo kumwa no.
Omo say kraman na ye omo tiwade na omo nya nkraman e wo krum ha sei. E na me kuru mo bi sa omo say time omo to atatu e san say tika na me etu anti no. Omo nkan tro bia so omo nya nkraman wo krum omo so omo nya nkraman omo bia nkatie na omo nya nkraman so omo ren nkraman so bi utwene ho a ontia tie na na nyina ye nim se omo mponi e body asifo na ni pako ba body asifo nkraman wo ho nti ye ho de nti a ape hanko ano nti ye adi a ye fa ni se dia na nkraman no mo mfie no mo boya no ban na sadio akonfo na omo bia omo ntumi nkonkrofo ni so omo fie no mo ntimi so mo nyi nkraman ni fi ho a edia na omo nya ho kwan etumi koho na omo din ho a omo ntia so eno ni aseme ewo
okay enti se sia na den na mo amowo oman no mo ye afa ho se sia
ye ti se ma me no ni kunu no any association for no esan say the economy na ye criminal case so mo tutu ba obi fie from abonten no ya sem no wo police for ni mo
okay
and so omo busu omo tuwa na mo na ya hye ya police for no di be kwa kosi
okay so why that so any nkomo twetwe bibi ye be di etire na ya hwe dia ebe kwa kosi why
madam
asemi nyamisha onso asemi eya ahomete Ebi I would watch you say ya boa keke. But Kramai most especially, so when you say at a point they become your friends. Would you feel crowd? They were more welcome. They are more like humans, but not on the same IQ as us. Eye dina mutimi eye to trust them sa. Eye reho. Enye nipa nkwa na sebi yekuna. Eye reho sa. Wa wo hwe pictures here na what screen you so. Hwe se na o makun Kramai se na Kramai that staircase no so a. Oda so sa keke. Ye pese ye ni adonte hinin so ekasa ye frɛ no. Na yes tie ono so enumasem because ono eyo hini wo kronim na eyi kron for na ekase ya mo mamane e wo bra omo ba beto asase ne so mo ntimi fa Kramai no enye den emma honom na sesi a omo ye dia omo ye enti ye pese ye te ono so enumasem se de omo ka no eyampa ana se ebia asem na ekoso ntino na omo pese omo eye den eka bibi ede etwitwa omo ho because asem we there eya hometie pa ba ebi nso a na wo nso so a wo te ho wo tie asemi wo bibi a wo pese wo ye den wo ka fa ho a send a message and a WhatsApp WhatsApp message because so fra ayana a distraction into WhatsApp message ayana ode afa 0556 999 999 0556 999 999 na yen twetwe komo even so na opese o send a comment efa your social media handle and also oko Facebook and asa Instagram and asa Twitter TV XYZ Ghana o send a comment na ma renfi na o de hashtag XYZ Morning Updates na o de aka ho na wa tag so de be ya ye be hu comment no na yetimi ayeden akan comment no ama obi anso atibi because asem we dey eya reho eye den obi ewo Kramai woni fie na wotimi tutuo efa fie e bi kra na akola bi nam fie ho na to na yeden akoka akola no enti aya sebe nema bi wo ho aye ya yemfa nyansa ento ho kakra ohun ubo obi dan mu na se ombi wa it's even illegal to do what you have just done. It's a head na wotimi ye dia wo ye sesie me asem na eye na tete wisdom.
Abena, it's very worrying and very sad. Osha idea hadring because like you said now we can in Kramai abue bia we train them soldiers omu use Kramai immigration police for we obia use Kramai and it has become one of the abua they live more or less like we human beings.
Exactly.
Me share videos be akola bi na wato swimming pool mu a on to me sorry but it was Kramai na oko nsoni na abofra ne bitumi ye obi wo ho ana ebia opade bi onifi ontumi nya but because Kramai wonti no omo training Kramai to the extent omo tumi all of these things. If you go to the US and other countries omo set up funds sikapudu amudi egu ho a oye obi a wo Kramai na se opese wo Kramai eba na ye hye no last near musi Kramai ba ko we ko bodompe ma we nya effect on the jawbone into some raise funds others no nya about $2,000 omni kwa ye Kramai surgery but you ask yourself in Ghana how do we take care of our domestic animals?
Exactly.
Ubeko bi fi ejrama o ma ne duane ne ejrama na ho ne ho basa sa en Kramai ye hwe omo en ponche no me nam krom ye bylaws e wo krom ha against stray animals omni nam krom enso e no be hu ponche ni ndwan so omo atati si no omo na so ask yourself say what is the assemblies doing? Your assemblies why would somebody take the laws into their own hands?
Exactly.
Say obosum si ochiri Kramai nti na oni nam not tutu kunkun Kramai. One, or Kramai awakokuni ebia na ye omunye some any kind of on-call vets biaye. So these animals are just on the street. You kill them. In Framabebo, almost things ni omwadi adini can go into the air. In Kolabiko kofa kudi agro, they may get rabies. Who knows? These dogs, you don't know whether you are vaccinated or not. We don't know this. These dogs will become what no more proper and also another forms of infection and all of this. And so, and the being of it, say utumishu bifi na ugage na ututu kukun Kramai. Who does that?
Exactly.
In this 21st century.
In
this 21st century.
Inside. What if say Akolane to Americano? It was around the same time that gunshots nearby na who need proper aim, not a koboakolana.
What
would you say?
What would you say? In the wisdom of the assembly, in the wisdom of the police, in the wisdom of the community leaders, versus unacceptable. See, you can tell them this town, so gather all your dogs, take them to a place. Simple as that. See, dogs, see. If you want to feed a dog properly, every morning, afternoon, evening, the cost of feeding of a dog is not easy. Sika odibeshe okrama bako because dog feed ni boye ding.
It's true.
Dog feed ni boye ding. No be I invested. Atokrama amaniduane to dog feed. Now we see wekunu. Just because bosom say on pekramai.
They say bars no corner they sell it to you.
They sell it because the investment now because Kramabako me share now people are selling Kramai for over 2,000 CDs and all just one dog.
But also the thing is and you biana or wosika or the security about to or be monthly salary. You understand? And Nana Meneka say akron for work kronimuho. And the reason why most of them have gotten the dogs is for security purposes. Into Omukran now they are suspecting say ye a confona omuntimi en real omuni adianina ebi asaba omuni empanifona connive and omuye de omuye. I mean it's a fair
no, but you see, for me, they should be arrested. Nipana or die.
Definitely,
the person who ordered for the killing of the dogs should be arrested and prosecuted. The assembly should not sit down quietly. And why? They shouldn't sit down quietly. Because these are people's livelihood. These are people's investment. Obia share kramaya edietwa in school fees. Because oton krama bakwa, obenyaska and dog feed. Nina, now just get up one day, destroy somebody's investment in the name of prophecy and answer
investment and whatnot. No, I have seen people who are very attached to their dogs. Because I think just about last month, a friend of mine lost her dog, and she was so sad. For like a week, she was just cooped up, and even if you talk to her, she was just because the dog was literally her friend. Ukoha, the dog is sitting in the sofa with her. Or no, or if you cry. I mean, everywhere you see her, mostly you see the dog with her. It's sad. When she lost the dog, she was very sad about it. Some people are attached to them. And you know how dogs are. You know how they are.
I think it's very painful.
It's very disheartening. Look
because
at that.
even in Africa, just last month there was this group we call AKI. They had a forum to donate monies so that they can get some to protect and fight for the rights of dogs. Because dogs inadvertently have become pseudo-humans.
Yes.
They virtually do everything nipa to me. So they saw the need, say, okay, and one be here, you're investing in our domestic. Look at that.
It's sad though. I mean, how do you
now watch you too say on na microphone
because like I indicated earlier, Nyakopon cry say namwe mono mesra so amamutimiri.
No,
I mean, nobody rears a cow. Nobody rears a cow the way that you handle dogs. I'm not saying it's like even killing a cow is okay, but you understand.
No, we are not disputing. We are not disputing. Say dog ayobi nam. No, that is not the case. We are not ayobi nam. Ayobi nam. But the spree at which was sorry. You see, the whole issue. They say obi ama order. Say prophecy be and I say bosom be say inti nipa na ote bosom nano and nipa na oma prophecy no when the dogs were being brought into the town omu ante. And if you want to get rid of the dogs in the community, is this the way to go?
It's always like that when it comes to decision making for people. Without even consulting the fishermen. There are lots of decisions they take in this country without consulting the people who are directly affected by that decision. If you have any comments, just as I've indicated, send it to our WhatsApp number 0556 999 999, or you can also do that on our social media handles. It's TV XYZ Ghana on Instagram, on Facebook, and of course Twitter as well. My name is Nana Abnasewa. Eric will be here with the newspaper review.
Welcome to the Royal Dazzle Event Center. With a lush and well-maintained lawn and garden, you are assured of the best serene and comfortable atmosphere to organize all your family and social events. Live the royal moments here with friends and family. The hosting capacity of 600 to 800 people makes Royal Dazzle the most versatile of places to host weddings, parties, funerals, conferences, concerts, and many more. Create your memories with us. Call us for inquiries on 055-814-8585 or 024-620-2144, or pass by and speak to any of our friendly staff. Locate us at My John, close to Zoom Lion headquarters. Royal Dazzle Event Center, creating memories. Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Ifo kra na menyisika edia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia edia tre medwuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre miye busia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yamamwakwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodoɔ bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, akuokuro bosia, susu account, ɛne daso wɔ hɔ savings account, mebada chain savings account, ɛne de akeka ho. Suhum Rural Bank was 03422919896. Na won so wetumi aka sɛ
Suhum Rural Bank ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank enti mepa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
Masa, Tam, Maria, I'm kind of coffee. I am no more than one of them. Why? Have a beer, you can be right.
HD logo no bottom. Wait you say HD local channels na mo hedo. And so pictures here clear. E 5 times better. Ese other channels dem go be show hormone. So go dey mention mo ntram ra kra why. Oh, what the pictures.
Who knows tomorrow?
What a picture. For you AD plus decoder or multi TV and now electoral agent PR. Natural local channels now HD mu the here so better.
Star 879 hash.
Numbers from Kubi box and now you activate AD channels now. You can
get an HD Plus decoder from now till the 9th of August for just $89.99 Ghana cedis and enjoy 3 months free subscription. Enjoy all the excitement and live sports action in the HD Plus Air Bustle Feely Bonnie. Promo lasts from 7 June to 9th August 2021. Visit hd-plus.com.gh or call 024-243-9872 for more info.
Half a nose for good things.
Thanks for staying. This is TV XYZ. It's a sad story when I sat behind watching the videos and the pictures of dogs being slaughtered. I love dogs. These are pets. These are innocent animals. And if the laws in this country must work, I believe that the District Assembly must invite the traditional leaders and anybody who is found to have been part of the slaughtering spree must be prosecuted. At least they can punish them by giving them some communal labor. I see a lot of weeds in that community. Why will you look for any dog, even if it's a stray dog, and kill the dog because of tradition? It's backwardness. It's like the days when we had owls in our environment, and because we didn't understand that owls are nocturnal birds, we assumed that when you find an owl flying during the day, when they can't really see, they are witches. And we ended up killing all owls in this country. In some other jurisdictions, these are tourist attractions. People visit zoos just to see owls, beautiful animals. But backwardness, you see, owl ye be ehu owla na chode hwanyen into de kun. And I remember those days. We follow them from mango tree to mango tree to coconut tree to coconut tree till the pet or the bird is tired, fall down, we kill them and hang them on a tree. It is backwardness. Osman Ayerga, you are welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Osman Ayerga is a youth activist of the NDC. He's joined us this morning for the conversation on some topical issues. Osman, I was ranting, and I'm sure you watched the videos while you were waiting in the guest room. The story is very simple. There's a community in the central region. They are saying it is an omen, or maybe the community doesn't like dogs. And people have lived there and they have kept dogs for months, for years. And all of a sudden, the youth wake up and they are moving from house to house, and any pet they see, they kill it. And I'm sure as we have the conversation, you see the pictures pop up on the screen. We are trying to speak to authorities to find out what they should be doing. We understand that the District Assembly has invited the traditional authorities and they want to hold some sort of dialogue. But how did it come to you when you watched those nasty pictures?
Well, it's rather unfortunate. But first and foremost, let me say a good morning to your viewers across the nation. I mean, pets are very lovely animals we keep around us to keep us company, even sometimes for security. I personally have 3 dogs. that I keep. I think growing up, we've had dogs all over. We have dogs around our homes. We play with them. I remember when I was a kid, I even used to sit on the dog as though it were a horse and all of that. So honestly, dogs are very lovely animals. Not only dogs, any animal that can be domesticated is a very lovely animal, and we need to also be conscious about how we treat them. We need to treat them as they also have feelings. And of course, animals do have rights, the way we treat animals, even the way we go about the animals we try to kill even for consumption. There's a way, a manner in which...
Look at one of such things.
Yeah,
it's so bad. You see, it's such that we must see some action taken to punish the people. Look at the young men who are on rampage, moving from house to house, looking for dogs, even if it's a gated community or a gated house with walls around. They go in. I don't know what really is happening in this country.
I think the authorities in charge of some of these animals, I mean the Ministry of Agric and even the Veterinary Services
Department,
should be able to step in, because yes, as I said, animals do have rights. You understand? There are international treaties and conventions that seek to protect animals, both domesticated animals and even wild animals, endangered species. Because the world is looking at a time where we won't be able to find certain animals within our jurisdiction. So certain treaties, certain conventions seek to protect these animals so that they don't go about killing them, even for consumption. So with pets such as dogs, where you just go about killing them, I think we should have punitive measures against people who just go about indiscriminately.
It should not be just like, oh, we have advised them to stop.
Yes. I mean, there should be punitive measures to protect the animals, because they do have rights. You just cannot go about killing animals because you believe that, I mean, they either have some spiritual connotation behind it, or it comes with some bad omen. No. I think we're in the 21st century and we've moved beyond just, not respecting the rights of animals. So I think the rights authorities should look into it. The NGOs are also interested in protecting animal rights. Also look into it so that we can all seek to protect these very lovely
It's a
pets.
shame for some of these things to happen, and I will join anybody who will stand up to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. Because we have heard severally that when you go to some countries, when you are driving and you see an animal crossing the highway, you have to stop and allow the animal to pass. If you kill the animal, you will be charged. There are people who live with animals and don't take good care of these pets. The state takes the pets away from them. That is how civilized society should be. In this 20th century, when people are paying huge sums to own some of these animals, to use them for protection. Some of them even use some of these animals for therapy. I've seen documentaries where in hospitals, they send some of these pets to hospitals, whether they are the people who are very old and weak, are recuperating at the hospitals, or children. They use them as therapeutic measures to help them to get well early. But look at what has happened. Well, this morning...
Let me just say, you go to, even in Ghana, there are places where the rights of these animals are well respected. You go to the mining areas, maybe Obuasi Goldfields, Anglo Gold Ashanti, those areas, and you ask the workers, and they respect the animals so much, because if you're a driver and you even run over a snake or any wild animal, you are sacked immediately. So you go out to these mining companies, they're very serious mining companies.
And you understand why it is happening there?
Yes, they respect
it is because
the rights
the owners
of
of these multinational mining companies are white. They understand what must be done right. That's why I started by talking about my story when we were young. At the preparatory school those days, we lived in a community where the orientation is, if you see an owl during the day, or you see kusie, you know kusie?
Yes.
You know kusie?
Yes.
Is it rat?
Yes.
Oh, say when kusie yabra was or anyan into them kusie no, even they don't want to touch it. Please, the people of the area, when je maoriano or yenimugwase, namaji is there in Brasso on one bedi. This morning, we want to look at the big story that is trending. That is Asen North Central. The controversy is on. The MP's seat has been declared vacant. The MPP is warming up to take over that seat, and they pray that the number they have in Parliament, 137, will go up to 138. I've even seen a post saying that, oh, if MPP gets 138 in future, or even now that it is 136, 137 for MPP plus one, Alban Bagbin, the Speaker of Parliament, may be going soon. And I was laughing at it, but some said, look, you can't read the minds of people who have their own agenda. We'll be speaking to lawyers, we'll be speaking to political analysts, we'll be speaking to governance experts on this program. Osman Ayariga will be with us. And yesterday, the minority leader in Parliament raised some key concerns. He's saying that government is using the courts to balance power. For Harun Idrisu, the minority leader with so much experience, to make such a statement would tell you maybe he knows what he's talking about, or maybe he's just blowing hot air. But the issue is, we all know that Parliament was expected, or many people say Parliament today is balancing power because the executive cannot have its way as it used to be, let's say 10 years ago, 4 years ago, and so on and so forth. So we have the Speaker of Parliament belonging to the other side. We have 137 plus one, and so on. Is that what government really is doing? We will listen to Harun Idrisu again on this program. And then another press says, look, don't mind the minority, because they knew very well that the day the Asen North MP was smuggled to Parliament, when the court was supposed to serve on him a notice that he cannot carry himself as an MP, they knew that he cannot continue to be a member of Parliament. And they used him to elect Alban Bagbin. And so the NDC has known from day one that the Asen North MP will never stay for long. We don't know who is speaking the truth. We'll discuss that on this program. And then, of course, the University Teachers Association of Ghana says on Monday they are beginning the nationwide strike. It comes at a time when other labor unions are agitating against government. Now they have made it clear. They have gone to the extent of saying that there is a deliberate strategy to undermine or break the worker front in terms of their unionization and use the side that will be in bed with government against the current leadership of the labor unions. How true is that? We'll be looking at that. But first, I want us to begin this conversation with the controversies following the statements by the leadership of Parliament. And first, we want to listen to Harun Idrisu. Let's hear his reaction after the court ruling on the Asen North seat case.
Processes and legal forum and opportunities available within the Constitution. We will contest the ruling. The judge erred both in law and in fact. It's a travesty of justice. But what is worrying, we don't want to believe that the courts of Ghana have been captured and that the courts of Ghana have become forums being used surreptitiously to tilt the balance of power. We are equal, 137, 137. What is happening is the courts now being used to tilt the balance of power and to weaken time-tested historical notion of checks and balances. Justice must not only be done, but must manifestly and undoubtedly be seen to be done. What happened this morning in Cape Coast, we are told that even when the Supreme Court of Ghana directed the Honorable Kwesi and his legal team to go and file appropriate legal motions for the matter to be referred to the Supreme Court, he was denied that. That is repugnant and an affront to his right to a fair trial guaranteed under Article 19 of the 1992 Constitution. Danger begets our democracy with the developments happening. But as I've assured you, we remain unshaken, we remain very resolved, and cooperation will suffer. Nothing more. We thank you for the opportunity.
And so that is the minority leader of Parliament, Harun Idrisu. I beg your pardon. Harun Idrisu is the minority leader of Parliament. We've heard him. Another on prayer is the majority chief whip. Yesterday, just after Harun Idrisu concluded the press encounter, he also spoke to the media. Let's hear him.
Even before we were sworn in to be part of the 8th Parliament, ab initio in the chamber, we as members of the majority had raised issue of eligibility related to the Asin North Member of Parliament elect then. If you recall, there were dramatic representation even from our side. And we had cautioned the implication of that decision for the member to sit in and be part of that decision making on that day. Each one of you will bear witness. And so today we have been vindicated, because from day one we had made our point abundantly clear that the member was invalidly elected. And lo and behold, a court of proper jurisdiction has come to make a ruling. Now, I respect the minority leader, but for him to say that rubbing in government influence and the likes is totally flawed and should be rejected ab initio.
And so you heard Frank Ano Dompre is the majority chief whip. Now there's another development. We know that the minority says they are going to ask for stay of execution. We also know that the EC would be waiting for the details of the court ruling and will be making the necessary preparations, if there is no stay of execution, to arrange for the by-election or the rerun of the election in the Asin North constituency. We know that that will bring huge cost to the state. And the cost will involve the crisscrossing of the entire constituency by the major political parties, NDC, NPP to be specific. They'll go back to the ground and campaign. We have seen the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election. We all know what happened. We know the deployments, the reactions, the counter-reactions, and how everything ended. We saw the 2020 elections. We know the allegations, claims, and so on and so forth. And till date, we know many of such cases are hanging. And so if we have to go to Asin North, I can imagine the deployment of security people, the deployment of party activists, the resolve by both the two major political parties that never again that anybody would want to play smart. And I can foresee possible violence. And I can see a lot of things that may turn around, which may be good or bad. The good aspect is the benefit for the people of Asin North. Definitely, as all by-elections have suggested to us, they come with some development, overnight development. If that is what will benefit the people of Asin North, I go for it. But look at this again. Can the Asin North MP now contest as a legitimate Ghanaian who has a certificate of denunciation of his Canadian citizenship, contest again? Now, if he does and he wins, does it make sense that the ruling, which is described as travesty of justice, could have considered the consequences to the state at a time when we don't have money? These are issues that will be on the table for discussion for a long time. And somebody else has also gone to court. I'll share that with you shortly. He's gone to the Supreme Court and is seeking the interpretation of something I don't understand. I'll read what he's seeking in the reliefs. But I want to begin the conversation with Osman Ayariga while we wait for the other guests to join us by phone. Osman, so you heard Harun Edrisu, you heard Ano Dompre. Some say the NDC saw it coming. I've listened to MPP activists who say they are also looking at Jomoro, they are looking at Techiman South, and it will fall for MPP. You are an NDC activist. It sounds like it is bad news for you.
Well, first and foremost, we have made the point clear and loud, and we've made the statement forcefully that, one, we are not scared of any by-election so far as politics is concerned, and so far as the Asin North constituency is concerned. We won that seat convincingly because the people of Asin North knew that the best option was Honorable Kwesi. The people of Asin North came out massively in their numbers to vote for the NDC and to vote for Honorable Kwesi. So by this action of the MPP to use the hands of the judiciary to tilt the will of the people is rather unfortunate. So we have made a point clearly and times without number that we are not scared of a by-election. However, before we even get to the state of a by-election, we need to understand how did we get here. And we all saw in this country how before the 7th of January, how the judiciary worked in hand with the current government just to deliver the court document from Cape Coast within 45 minutes. All these questions are still looming in the minds of Ghanaians. Now, as the honorable leader said, justice should be done and justice should be seen to be manifestly done. Now, do the people of Asin North see justice to be done so far as this case is concerned? And the simple answer is no. They just see it to be some sort of Machiavellian tactics to get rid of the MP just because some people within the region feel that they must capture the seat either by fair means or by foul means. Now, how did we get here today? The question is that the NDC has filed several processes, and the MPP, I hear them, their commentaries talking about Article 94.2 and 94.1 and its interpretation. But the question is that, has Article 94.2a ever been interpreted in the history of this country? And the answer is no. They go and pick a case of Zenator and try to interpret it with this current case, of which I don't know how they are doing the interpretation and how they decide to compare the two, or this marriage of convenience as far as the two articles are concerned. Because the two articles are mutually exclusive of each other. They are distinguishable and they stand on their own strength. So that is why the Asin North MP and his lawyers decided to go to the Supreme Court for the interpretation of Article 94.2. And the Supreme Court said they should go back to the High Court and start the process from the High Court. Just to get there yesterday in the morning, and miraculously, we all don't know how it happened, but the court office was locked. There was nobody to be found. There was no place to file the processes. Then the judge walks in ready to read his judgment. You see, all these processes now leaves room for people to suspect to a reasonable extent that justice is not seen to be manifestly done. That is the core of our issues. This is the crux of our issue.
Yesterday I heard Alex Segbefia raise the same issue. Now, my concern is this. You remember when there was a ruling against the MP before the January 7, this same concern was raised that they wanted to file an appeal or stay of execution, and the same registrars were absent. And this time around, it has happened again. Why would the NDC conclude that they deliberately stayed out of office because they want to work with a certain judge or somebody to work on the issue?
The way and manner certain events happen, it allows room for suspicion.
Let me speak to a legal practitioner. I know you are developing your point.
Yeah.
When we finish with him, I'm sure you'll have time to speak extensively to this issue. Alex, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. The line is quite straight.
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay, Alex, first of all, you followed proceedings. Several issues have been raised here. The NDC says what happened in court yesterday is travesty of justice. The lawyers claim that they had wanted to file some processes at the High Court because of the recommendation by the Supreme Court, and the registrars were absent. And the judge knew this, but went ahead to give the ruling. What is your own understanding of how things went about after listening to both parties?
All right. Greetings to our viewers this morning or listeners this morning. I think that every time that sometimes certain people or certain institutions need to really sanction employees who violate certain rules of employment. What am I trying to say? If the laws of your work say that you report to work or have to at night, why is the office closed at 10? You understand? So, at the time, some kind of strict enforcement should be made or given to ensure that employees strictly abide by the code of their, employment, the rules of their work. Having said that, the big decision itself is one thing that I haven't been able, or I can't agree with. My reason is very simple. The issue surrounding or the case was mainly based, I think, on the Jonathan Rawlings case.
Yeah, Alex. Alex, can you hear me? I wanted you to reposition yourself. The line is not too clear. If we try and it won't work, we may drop it and call you again. Alex, you can speak. Let me try if it's better now.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better. You can go ahead, sir.
All right. So what I'm trying to say here is that the reason that the court did, I don't share the same view with the court. My reason is very simple. If you understand immigration, like private immigration law, you get to understand that to file such process, to renounce your citizenship on authority with the country, at most 6 months' time, you should have a decision from the form of. Sometimes, for one or two reasons which may not necessarily be known to you, it's made late. Sometimes it can come around maybe 8 months, 9 months' time, or 10 months' time, depending. Okay? But for this case, as we are having here, the court is of the opinion that as of the 5th and 9th of October, the gentleman's decision to renounce his citizenship with Canada had not been received. And for that reason, you couldn't have contested. Because contesting and the number of arguments is a process. Then I think the court should have also known that, renouncing his U.S. citizenship is a process. This is it's a process. So if there is something about you want to be a process, then there will not be a process. For that reason, we need to have granted him that fear. To move on. Again, you get to understand that to become a member of parliament, Eric, to my best, a lot of my understanding, it's when one has been elected and has been sworn into office. Sworn into. Not when I just elected, then you are empty. In 2000, a similar thing happened. Kennedy Lapong went to parliament after his colleague had been sworn in. And when he got there, he was asked to work out simply because he had not been sworn in as a member of Parliament. So he couldn't join the proceedings. Until he was sworn in before he became a member of the House. You understand me? So the MP or the member became a member of Parliament when he had been sworn in on the 7th of January, not when he was elected. If you go by when he was elected, then what it means is that at that time, between 8th December to 7th January 2021, there were 2 members of Parliament in that constituency, which is not legal. It's not legal. You can't have 2 members of Parliament in one constituency. It's not lawful.
Okay, so Alex, let me ask a question. You are a lawyer. You can interpret it better. The minority says they disagree. The majority is saying that, look, in the first place, it was wrong. And many of them have likened this to the same incident. In fact, the ruling was almost on the same day, some 9 years ago. That was 2012, when the former MP for Boku also suffered the same case. Are they related?
But the Boku MP, right?
Yes.
With the case, I understand it very well. I think after the time that he was sitting in Parliament, the renunciation has not been done.
So why are they trying to liken it to Abu Sakande's case and justify that it is the law of karma playing back?
I don't think that's correct, because with this very case, the man commenced the process in 2019 December. And then a year after, he won an election. After a year, he won an election. Then ask yourself another question again. As of 7 December 2020, was he a dual nationality? Was he a different country's nationality? The answer is no.
What we know is that the EC opened nominations between the 4th and the 7th of October, and the certificate confirming that he has denounced his nationality as a Canadian was around 29th of November 2020. So at the time he was being sworn in, he was a full Ghanaian.
Thank you. You don't become a member of Parliament because you have filed a nomination with the electoral commission. That is why people are disqualified at that stage. Was he disqualified? No. The answer is no. And he wasn't a member of parliament by virtue of filing an election, or filing to become or to contest an election.
Okay, so Alex, we'll leave it here. I think when you join us on Monday, I believe that we'll have space to do a lot more conversation.
That's fine. Thank you.
All right, so we took advantage of his legal background, and you were advancing your point on the same tangent.
Yeah, I believe I was advancing the point on the same tangent, which has to do with the Article 94 to vis-a-vis comparing it with the Zenato case of Article 94.1. Now, the 94.2 talks about the fact that you shouldn't owe allegiance to any country as at the time you became MP, or as qualification to become an MP, you shouldn't owe allegiance to any country. Now, the question is that as of 7th of January, when he was being sworn in as MP, did he owe allegiance to any country? And the simple answer is no. Now, as you heard him, they tried to compare it with that of Adamu Sakande. And he's told you rightly so, that if you read the Adamu Sakande case, as part of the evidence that was adduced in court, it shows that as of February 2013, when he was, no, February 2009, he still possessed a British passport. Meaning that even as a sitting MP, he was still in possession of a British passport, which means he still owed allegiance to another country. So when you read the case, that's what it tells you.
The attempt to equalize
the attempt to equalize doesn't fall in. I think that's this attempt by the MPP communicators and their friends and families to equalize this or have this marriage of convenience would not hold. It won't wash. That's why I said they've decided to have their own interpretation, and that is why we are all here and we are all suffering the current mess we are in. Now, if you also look at the PNDC law 284, which has to do with cancellation of elections, it also states that as at the time of the election, if the person was not qualified, then you can cancel the elections. Now, the question is that as of the time of the election, which was 7th December 2020 or 2020, was the honorable MP qualified? A simple answer is yes. So these are the fundamental constitutional questions that we took to the Supreme Court. These are the questions we took to the Supreme Court. To use his discretion
to declare the seat vacant, what could have? Because the judge perhaps is also referring to aspects of the law.
Yes, I mean, it's very normal for a judge to err in law and in facts. That is why we said that even as a High Court judge, it is not in your place to try to interpret the Constitution. So do not take one article to interpret another article. The two articles are not dependent on each other. They are parts of the Constitution where it tells you that maybe subject to this article or in accordance to Article so and so. This is the position of this article. But if you look at Article 94.2 and 94.1, it doesn't tell you that in accordance to any article or in accordance or subject to any article. So what it means is that those two articles are distinguishable and they stand on their own. So the court, in interpreting the Zenato case, gave its ratio and gave the reasoning for its interpretation so far as the Zenato case was concerned, which had to do with Article 94.1. So for the judge to use Article 94.1 to interpret Article 94.2, then we are found in a state of, I mean, we are confused so far as the court is concerned. Unless the judge himself is trying to tell us that now he has the powers to interpret the Constitution for us, which we disagree. That's why we said that, and our minority leader also said that the judge erred in law and erred in fact. So for that matter, we are going to appeal the position of the judge. And I mean, so when judges act like this, or when the court acts like this, then it allows room for people to have all sorts of speculation, all sorts of belief, and all sorts of propaganda then can follow suit. So the judiciary as it stands now, I am confident to say that it is one of the arm or the only arm of government that still has a high level of integrity attached to it. Because clearly the executive, people hardly believe in the executive now. The legislature, people see them as a bunch of politicians who only believe in them. So that is a perception out there. So the judiciary is one arm of government people believe, which is supposed to
build that confidence
in the public sector. Because whenever, excuse my language, whenever there's a break in system, it is the judiciary we all depend on. Even when
what about those who say
even when there's an overthrow of the Constitution?
The NDC will always be bitter losers and create the impression that the judiciary is not being fair to them.
No, the judicial processes are there for everyone to follow. So if we see that the judicial processes are being followed, then we respect that, yes, it has been followed to the latter. But if we see a seeming circumvention of the judicial processes, if we see a serpentine manner in which people are trying to swerve the judicial process, which we all have read in black and white in the Constitution, because in the Constitution it's written there clearly that the High Court does not interpret the Constitution. And that is why we filed the processes to the Supreme Court.
Now, somebody sent me a text message that perhaps the NDC is also not reading in between the lines, because if you look at the timing of the ruling on the first case, which led to a certain court process that was supposed to have been served on the MP, it happened just before the new parliament was sworn in. And on that day, the registrar of the court was still missing. And this court was also ruling at a time when on the same day, there was a directive by the Supreme Court that go back there and file the processes and let the judge understand, which would have stayed this judgment. Now, is it that your lawyers cannot anticipate, and so things just take them by surprise and they react, or it is just part of the fair deal?
Well, things don't take us by surprise. We anticipated that as of yesterday's case, we anticipated that yesterday in the morning, we will surely get to the court and the registrar and the bailiff will be nowhere to be found. We anticipated it. So I think our communication director even said it somewhere that we are on our way and we'll be at the court as early as 6 o'clock, waiting for them to report to work at 8. As of 9:30, they didn't come for us to file the necessary processes. So, and of course, I mean, it is the job of the registrar to be there for us to file the necessary processes. So if he is not there, then it becomes a difficulty for us to file the necessary processes. Then you will know that there's some sort of collaboration between some parties to make sure one party doesn't really see the light of day so far as justice is concerned. So then it allows room for speculation. And the judicial system shouldn't allow room for such kind of speculation, because then it weakens the strength or the integrity of the judiciary, which we all are worried about. And as our minority leader said, it seems they want to use the judiciary to tilt the balance of power.
We'll be speaking to the Central Regional Communications Director of the NDC, Kwesi Dawood, who was in court, who has been to the Asin North constituency, to share with us how the party is receiving this development and how they intend to handle the subsequent petitions if they have to go back to the Supreme Court, for example, or have to go back to the constituency to begin preparation towards, how do you call it, rerun of the election. Now, two things. Your numbers have dropped in Parliament. The Asin North MP cannot go to the House. The minority leader has set their position clear. Now, the NDC as a party, beyond this, you have raised this complaint several times. What signal are you sending to some of these court registers or clerks or people who seem to allow themselves to be influenced to do things you suspect?
Well, first and foremost, what we need to understand is that it is a system. And for that matter, there are individuals within a system. And the individuals need to protect the sanctity and the integrity of the system. One or two miscrimes within a system should not be used as a yardstick to bring down or to damage the whole system. You understand? To break down the whole system. So we just want the court bailiffs, the registrars, to know that they are there to protect the system. And we are there to also collaborate with the system. We are there to cooperate with the judiciary. We are there to work hand in hand with them, because we are a partner in development. We are partners in development so far as the democratic dispensation of this country is concerned. And I mean, we are still a young democracy, still growing, still trying to become stronger and stronger. So people shouldn't allow themselves to be used by certain groups of people for their parochial interests to break down the judiciary or to break down any system so far as the democracy is concerned. But as it stands now, as of this morning, the honorable question is still the MP for Asin North. You understand? Because once there's a court order, there are processes in which they try to execute.
So until that is
handled. Until that is handled.
Well, let me speak to a good friend of ours who is also a legal practitioner. Good morning, lawyer.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
I hope everything is fine.
Well, we are again.
So Nana Obri Buahin is a Deputy General Secretary of the NPP and a very respected lawyer. Did you anticipate the direction of the ruling in Assin North?
Oh, certainly yes.
What were the reasons why you were strongly opinionated in favor of this ruling?
I was among the lawyers who drafted the petition. Among who were about 9 or 10 lawyers, myself, we were being led by Frank Davis, Akutampa, Okweshrifi, Brighter Jikum, Gary Nimakon, then 2 ladies.
Okay.
I think, we drafted the petition. We crossed the T's and jotted the dots. And so I was a member of the
legal team
group of lawyers. Yes,
okay. Now, Nana, we all know the court's position. The minority describes it as travesty of justice because especially one of the concerns they raised was about the sudden absence of the registrar when the court knew very well that there was a Supreme Court advice that a certain petition was to be served on the court, which would have delayed this ruling. And for the judge to have gone ahead meant that there was something fishy going on. How do you respond to that?
Oh, I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I don't know. Though you had all the chances, you had all the opportunities to utilize them, and you did not utilize them. I can't say that I asked the registrar to wait for me. I asked the registrar to be in court. I mean, this is so ridiculous. No, they should be lawyers. Let us talk like lawyers. They should not go that far, you know. You have not filed the process. And once you have not filed the process, that process is or was not before the court. You have not filed the process.
Yes, Mr.
Once you have not filed that process, it's time to read that process.
Yes,
or was not before the court.
Yeah, Nana Obri Buahin, it will sound as simple as that, and that will be on technical.
As simple as that.
And it will sound.
Because legally considered, once you have not filed the process, that process is not before the court.
Yes, so it is on these technical grounds that the NPP sees as conducive enough to justify the ruling. That is what is raising the suspicion by the minority that government appears to be using the courts to balance power. Because this is a very sensitive case. The judge knew it, and the judge has followed proceedings. And for a registrar to be absent would raise suspicions because, let me land and then you can come in. This is not the first time. You recall that the same court on the same case ruled, and there was supposed to be an application filed to demand a stay of execution, and the same registrar was absent, and it has happened again on the same day a ruling is supposed to be given. It's not enough to give room for suspicion.
No, you see, the rules of the court. When you consider the rules of the court, once a process is not filed, it is deemed that that process is not before the court. Once a process is filed, it is deemed that that process is before the court. Now, you know, the judge has fixed a date for delivery of a judgment. It goes to court. The process, no intervening process has been filed. You cannot tell the judge that he should hold on. They're going to file a process. I mean, it's never done anyway. So that one, these are arguments they are raising just to win public sympathy. They are not legal arguments. They are not legal arguments at all. Lawyers, aren't you been trained to be making these arguments? Arguments from the legal point of view, we think that they are tenable.
So at what point can a judge use his discretion? Because you have been to court several times, and judges have used their discretion. When or what triggers this?
It depends upon the circumstances of the case.
And you think the circumstance of this case was not strong enough for the judge to have considered a Supreme Court directive?
A judge is ready to deliver a judgment. Then you are telling the judge that, my lord, I'm going to file the process. So wait. I mean, how?
If the process had been filed, could he have turned the case differently?
If the process has been filed, we don't speculate in law. If the process has been filed, the process has not been filed. We don't speculate. The legal profession is not something we speculate. You don't speculate. The accounts of a gentleman and Kotiasi. A gentleman worry. A gentleman and Kotiasi.
A woman there, a jar way, but Jesus there, and you were lawyers, what's in a one now, what's in Tim and Zama or Crater, or what's a call court there, what challenge as a North MP no. No one you me there, Uberwin, or Sunday, one agony one day, as some will be to me, Ginado, in your own submission. Were you speculating?
No, we were not speculating because the facts are so glaring and obvious. At the material time that he was failing to contest as a candidate for NDC as a North. Was he a Canadian citizen? Yes, he was a Canadian citizen. In October. Renunciation came in November. And therefore,
so at the
what
time
he did in October was null and void.
Okay, so the Electoral Commission is the body that qualifies anybody to contest in its election.
No.
The Electoral Commission, maybe I may be ignorant, but if I land, you may help us.
Okay, all right.
The man notified the Electoral Commission that he had filed processes. The Electoral Commission opened nominations, and he gets the certification on November 29th. At the time Ghanaians were voting, he was a full Ghanaian. And so what stops the process from going on? That's the argument by some, the others.
That is wrong. You see, electoral process is an ongoing one. At the material time that we were filling the form to contest on the NDC ticket for Asinoff in October, the question is that, was he holding dual nationality? The answer is yes. Then he sold the form in the presence of a commissioner for oath. It's like an affidavit. Affidavit is sworn an oath. Then thereafter, you get the certificate of renunciation. Even it's not a legal issue. At the material time was he was filling the form. Was he holding dual nationality? The answer is yes.
Okay,
that is the end of the matter.
Right, good. Nana, before you go, he can still contest if nominations are open. What have we gained?
Now that one also is a very dicey question. Because now, legally, he must be charged for perjury. Legally, he must be charged for perjury. And therefore, I cannot tell. No, because this particular case, you remember that even before he was sworn in, I, on one occasion, on behalf of the MPP in Central Region, wrote to the police to fast-track work on the processing of the complaint lodged to the police by the MPP. There's a gentleman in Tikus, Techimensa. The gospel truth is that Techimensa, he was moving to the police station, we were sending him letters. The gospel truth is that the NDC leadership did not act well at all in the supreme interest of their own party. And
all right, Nana.
Listen, let me explain. When the man advanced an intention to contest, his own constituency, they went to the national headquarters of the party. And this gentleman is ineligible to contest. The NDC party itself.
Okay, Nana, I think that one, many people are aware, and because I have guests in the studio, I'll take it that you have made your point. So I will end this conversation, and I'll continue the rest with my guests.
Thank you very much.
I'm so grateful for sharing your time with us. So you listen to Nana Obribwahini. So MPP has a strong position. You created the mess yourself.
Not at all, because as of the time we're even filing the nomination, there was a petition which even came all the way to the Electoral Commission headquarters. And the man produced all the evidences to show that the renunciation process was being, in place. You understand? So then the Electoral Commission cleared him to contest. So as of the time he was contesting, yes, there was a process to renounce the citizenship, which was almost due. And at the time of election, he was already not a Canadian citizen. He was only a Ghanaian citizen. And that is the point we continue to drive home. And that is a point in law, not in grammar. And everyone is trying to interpret it by just using the simple, plain language. The Constitution is very clear. And the Constitution doesn't say that at the time of filing your nomination, you should have renounced your citizenship or you shouldn't owe allegiance to any country. Only says that you cannot be qualified to become MP. Now, at the time he was even filing the nomination, was he a member of parliament? The simple answer is no. He was only a member of parliament as of 7th of January 2021. And the question is that as of 7th of January 2021, did he owe allegiance to any other country beside Ghana? And the simple answer is no. And that is the question of law we ask that. Let's let the Supreme Court answer this basic question.
Okay, so we'll wrap up on this conversation. I want us to also move on to another leg of this controversy. It's about a private citizen who comes from Asen North. He has filed a process at the Supreme Court, and I want to share the reliefs he's seeking with you. And in those reliefs, among other things, he's saying that they want a declaration that on the true and proper interpretation of Article 94(2)(a) of the 1992 Constitution, the determination of a person owing allegiance to a country other than Ghana as such as qualifies or disqualifies such a person from being a member of parliament in Ghana involves consideration of the law, and it goes on consideration of the law of the country other than Ghana to which it is claimed to be the person who owes allegiance. B, a declaration that on the true and proper interpretation of Article 94(2)(a) of the 1992 Constitution, a person who owed allegiance to a country other than Ghana but has taken positive steps under the law of that other country to renounce the allegiance or citizenship of that other country does not fall within the scope and meaning of a person who owes allegiance to another country other than Ghana, as expressed in Article 94(2)(a), and as such is not disqualified from being a member of Parliament. Now, it goes on and on and on. I'm sure you have read this. Now, I don't understand, but when you saw this, what came to your mind?
Well, exactly the point I was making, but in a different way. It's the same question he's seeking at the Supreme Court. That as of the time the person filed the nomination, once processes have already begun to renounce his citizenship, then he qualifies to be a member of parliament or even to file his nomination to be a member of parliament. So the same principle is being used even when it comes to contracts and execution of contracts vis-a-vis someone registering a company. Because there was this case recently which had to do a company that hadn't been registered at the time it already won a contract. And the Supreme Court, I believe, I've forgotten the case, but I'll refer to it. When next I come, I'll quote it again. The Supreme Court said that in as much as the processes to register the company had already begun, then it is deemed proper that the company had already won a contract. This is the principle, or this is the ratio that was held in that case. So even if we pick that same principle, that holding, even though the cases are different, if we pick that reasoning, that the process the process had already begun. And once you start the process, then it leaves your domain, and it's the domain of the officials who would then have to go about with the processes. And I mean, luckily for Honorable Question, just before the election, before the 7th of December, he had already received his certificate. Before being sworn in as a member of parliament, he had received his certificate of renunciation. So I find it very difficult, but that is the beauty of the law. Everyone reads it and his understanding is different. That is why we have the Supreme Court to interpret it, to give finality to every matter. So the way the NPP is reading the article is different from the way the NDC is.
Do you expect anything positive from the Supreme Court, especially when your party has a perception that, as the minority said, the Supreme Court the courts may not work in their interest?
First and foremost, we've expressed misgivings so far as the court registrar of Central Region, Cape Coast especially, is concerned, the person of Eustace. His name keeps popping up in very, unsuitable places so far as this case is concerned, and his actions and inactions have led us to some of these perceptions and some of these speculations or propaganda. So I find it very difficult to believe in the Cape Coast court so far as the registrar Eustace is concerned. But with the paramount interest of the judiciary and justice, we still believe in the court, and that's why we'll still use the same forum, we'll still use the judicial system, we'll still appeal, we'll go all the way to the Supreme Court to make sure that justice is done and justice is seen to be manifestly done. So we won't say we do not believe in the courts. We believe in the court, but we hope the courts would be able to stamp on their
So the concerns you are raising basically is to raise the flags so that you alert them that you are closely monitoring whatever is happening. Yes. That's basically
because
what I get from what you are saying.
It's a case not only of the interest of the people of Asino, but it's a case of national interest. Because it can happen to any MP.
Let's talk about the labor agitations in town. And the latest one is UTAG. Most of the time, they announce that they are going on strike. They stay out for 2 days, 3 days, 1 week maximum in recent times. Their leadership go to meet the stakeholders and they call off the strike. And so some have said that all what UTAG is doing, they give them 1 week, they'll call it off. So it is not worthy to disturb the system by saying we are going on strike.
Not only UTAG, but the entire labor force of the country. This current government, Nana Akufo-Addo, have been so insensitive to the plight of workers. This is the case that this year there's been an increment of a paltry sum of just a paltry percentage of 4%. This is the first time, and this is the lowest of its kind, for you to just increase the salaries just by 4%. Now, in 2016, there was a 10% increment in the labor front. In 2015, there was 10%. In 2012, in fact, it went up to 18%. In 2013, it was 11%. And in 2014, it was 14.5% increment in the wages of salaries. So how then do we come to the year 2021 and you tell the labor unions that you want to increase just with a paltry sum of 4%? No,
we don't have money.
We keep hiding behind because we don't have money. Yet Nana Akufo-Addo wants to live like an Arabian king, globetrotting in the luxuries of all luxuries, and even attempted to pay his lovely wife, our lovely first lady. You do not tell us that you are flying with a private jet at the expense of the taxpayer, increasing your salary at 70-something%, even though now he's made a U-turn that they don't want the increment. Increasing your salary by 70-something%, then you come back and tell the labor unions that they should accept 4%. When teachers go out to agitate, you tell them that if they want to be millionaires, then they should find other things to do. This has been insensitive. This is the growth of being insensitive to the plight of workers and to the plight of Ghanaians. So I strongly stand with not only UTAG, but the entire labor force, that the paltry percentage of 4% is unacceptable. It is inhumane for you to feel that someone can live by the increment of... What was the percentage of depreciation of the cedi against the dollar just this year? And you think that 4% increment in their salaries, you've increased taxes, you've increased everything. Ports have gone up. Cost of importing goods have gone up. Cost of fuel has gone up, not only by 4%, but more than 20% in the last 4 months. And you expect workers to be able to live by the increment of only 4%? This has been insensitive to the plight of workers.
Now, if we ask for more for 600,000, 700,000 people, maximum 1 million, if my estimates perhaps are right, Ghanaians who are working in the public sector, and we all know that the ratio in terms of monies we use to service debt, monies we use to run day-to-day administration in the country, and the chunk of what we use to pay workers is about 50-60%. And this is supposed to hit a bit a notch higher if they go for it. Is it fair to other Ghanaians? Is it not about time they rather ask government to pull a brake on what they are doing and also tighten their belt and we all move on?
If you want labor union to tighten their belt, then leadership should be seen to be tightening their belts even tighter. here is the case where, as I said, here's the case you see the president flying, and you expect labor union to tighten their belt. This has been insensitive. And I continuously repeat it, that the government is being insensitive to the plight of workers. You don't expect labor union to tighten their belts when you are seen to be enjoying. Now, in the case of the SY administration of John Mahama, you remember, even there was no labor agitation, but we felt that due to some sort of hardship in the system, John Mahama and his ministers, his MPs, his ministers, his cabinet, his DCs, decided to cut off 10% of their salaries just to go into the construction of chip compounds. This is a government that is actually listening to the cry of the people. This is a government that is sensitive to the cry of the people. But where people are crying that they are hungry, there's no money, there's increment in fuel, there's increment in goods, there's increment in services, food is becoming expensive, and you tell them that they should take 4%, whilst you increase your salary, even attempt to pay your lovely wife. You don't expect people to sympathize with you. You don't expect anybody to sympathize with you. Then you come back and tell us that it's COVID. Whilst we are all trying to sympathize with the government as far as COVID is concerned, some businessmen who are very close to the system are making money at the airports. So much money at the expense of the ordinary citizen. Then you expect citizens to sympathize with you. How can we sympathize with you? It's just the height of being insensitive. The government needs to have a second look at it, unless the Akufo-Addo government wants to tell us that they have reached the point where they do not care about the plight of Ghanaians. And I believe they are almost there, because listening to their comments, Nana says, if you want to be rich, you have to leave the teaching profession. Now, Bawumia is also saying that we are being haunted by demons, powers, and principalities. I mean, these comments are uncalled for. These are comments that shouldn't be coming from
Let me do a few text messages. There are lots of them, and then we can wrap up on this conversation. This one says, good morning. Listening to Obribwa, and it means the court bases their judgment on the NDC constitution, but not Ghana's constitution. This is a political coup d'etat. Senna from Insawam sent this text message. This one is from, it says, hi, Eric, please don't mention my name. Thanks. The registrar is a card-bearing member of the MPP. The junior brother is also a card-bearing member of the MPP, and now the Maslock boss in Upper East Region. That is a fact. And then he says, check the MC list, and you find the brother's name. And this is very instructive. He says that, Eric, don't mention my name. The registrar of the court is a card-bearing member of the MPP. The junior brother is also a card-bearing member of the MPP, and the Maslock boss, Upper East Region, that is a fact. We'll verify. I have the list here. Maybe I'll pass it on to those who are interested, because this is a very sensitive case. And if for the second time, the same registrar will try to manipulate the system by dodging the lawyers of those who are fighting for a case, and so they cannot file the processes, and then judgment will be passed, and we are where we are, then I think people must look into it. Good morning, Uncle Eric, and greetings to your panel. Uncle Eric, please, I think the MPP party want a clear majority in Parliament. That's why all these things are happening. But we, the Sun North people, are waiting for the MPP party to come and have the election here, and we'll prove to them that it is only James Joe Quayson that we want and nobody else. Thanks. I am Abam Isaac from Asan Breku. This text message says, some of us knew this outcome from the onset. How can this ruling be justified? Issue was brought before the commissioner. He was cleared to contest. Now you say it's null and void, yet same person can contest. I see the difference between the judge and John Boadu. He must quickly resign and contest in the NPP elections. I think this is quite harsh. I won't continue reading the rest. We don't know the judge to be a card-bearing member of a political party. I can understand your sentiments, but let's be measured in some of the strong words we use. Good morning to you, Eric. I am Seth from Accra, Newtown. I want to say that our judges should seriously fight against judgment debts, which is affecting the economy, rather than use tactics to reduce the number of NDC members in Parliament. This one is from Inshiraba Anelka. Says, good morning, Eric, Mr. Host. In Sawam prison is just waiting for the former MP of Asen North constituency for breaching our 1992 constitution. What happened to Honorable Sakanda some years back has repeated itself. The same court proceedings, what was left to rot in prison. Oh no, he was left to rot in prison, and the satanic NDC, blah blah blah. He said greetings to Labaran Yakubu Barry, incoming MC. Please let's not use strong words attacking personalities. Ghana, it's the only country that you see these things going on. When the Asen North MP was filing for nominations, were they sleeping? We, the people of Asen North, know what we wanted and had it. We don't fear any by-election. Now, this one's from Mystic, says, from Eduejiri, says, our judicial system under the Nakufado government is crumbling, and we in the NDC remain resolute and unshakable. Honorable Kwekwa Jumamenu must resign and should be prosecuted for causing financial loss to the state. And it says, fix the country now. Today is my birthday, and I'm asking God for wisdom, and you didn't even add your name, so I don't know how to wish you. You know yourself. Happy birthday. Two more, Osman, I'll come to you. Sambuache Asamankasi says, the fact is, when it comes to making the case on radio, press conference, insulting and lambasting leaders, NDC are good. But when it goes to court, they are incompetent and wondering why anytime they lose a court case, they find a way to attack the judiciary. That's the text message that came from Sami Buache at Asamankasi. I'll read 4 more and then I'll come back to you. Good morning. I think the revelation given to Prophet Baumia is working because the demons are working everywhere. We must kill our, why must people kill our friends' domestic dogs in the name of gods? Yes, it's strange, very strange. And this community has lived several years, and all of a sudden they are killing dogs that they don't want dogs. This is bad, and they are doing that to the dogs. This means they can even kill human beings. The last but one says, from all the post-legal arguments, yesterday's Cape Coast Court High Court judgment on Honorable Kwesi is purely political. And as a nation, we must be worried about the current government using the judiciary to manipulate judgment. This is not about NDC, MPP, but building a strong democratic Ghana where every citizen will not be oppressed by the legal rights, by his or her legal rights. The decision of the Cape Coast High Court was wrong, especially when the Electoral Commission received a petition and asked Honorable Kwesi to prove his enunciation, and he was given the mandate to go and contest in the election. Long text message. One word from the right person at the right time can heal all our hearts and make us feel better. And it goes on and on. It says the NDC, let's focus and work and be resolute. And I think it's about time. Osman, we are wrapping up. Yes. How would you want to conclude?
Well, first and foremost, in conclusion, I'd want to urge the youth of Asen North to remain calm, to remain resolute. These are times the judiciary, the judiciary has taken a position that this is what the law is supposed to be as far as the Cape Coast High Court is concerned. So we can only call on the youth of Asen North to remain calm. They should remain resolute, and the right processes have been put in place. The party is working assiduously to make sure that we use the same forum to right what has been wrong to us. Okay. So they should just remain calm. They shouldn't be on the streets. There shouldn't be any sort of rampage because it is theirs and it is theirs to keep. But before I go, I just want to also urge all our youth across the country, the youth organizers of the party, to also remain calm. They should remain resolute because these are times that they could anger certain people or certain form of agitation, certain form of argument could lead to some sort of disruptions, violence.
So Osman Ayariga is a youth activist with the NDC, fine gentleman. Somebody sent me a text that, look, the gentleman speaks very well, very calm, and he's focused. And so I want to congratulate you for the compliments that came from a friend of mine. That's how we wrap up the program. Tomorrow, Abena and I will be here, and I'll be taking your call. So everything that has happened that is on your heart tomorrow, thank you for this program. Bye for now.